Hello everyone, you are welcome to today's class. So in this class, we want to look at another topic, and that topic is statistics. So we want to see how we can make statistics to make sense of the world around us. So that is what we want to look at in this video. So for the purpose of this class, we'll be looking at the following objectives, and we want to look at the meaning of statistics. Then after that, we look at the purpose of statistics, the meaning and types of data and sources of data. So that this is what we're going to look at in this video. So let's move to the next slide here. Have you ever wondered uh, how weather forecasters predict rain forecast, or they predict rain chances? So if you look at the diagram you have there, you can see that the 7-day forecast is telling us that on some days of the week there will be sun, and while some days of the week there will be heavy rains. So heavy rainfalls. So how do the weather forecaster determine this? Or perhaps maybe you are curious about how many hours your classmates spend playing video games each week. So how do you determine that? So it's part of what the statistics is here to what to let us know. So the answer lies in a superpower that we call what statistics. So we look at what is statistics as a subject. When we talk about statistics, statistics is a branch of applied mathematics that deals with the study of data. We're still going to look at the meaning of data, but when we talk about statistics, it's a branch of applied mathematics that deals with the study of what data. Uh, it involves collection, that is, we collect data, then it also involves presentation of data, analysis and interpretation of what data. So that is what this means is that when we talk about statistics as a whole, it is a branch of maths that deals with the collection, presentation, analysis, and the interpretation of the data for decision making. So we're still going to see how we use statistics to, how do we collect data, how do we present data, how do we analyze the data, how do we interpret the data we have collected to make decisions. So that's what statistics is all about. Then we move to the next one, which is why is statistics important? Why is it important? So statistics help us understand the world around us in a more meaningful way. So let's see how statistics help us to understand the world around us. The first one that it's used to make informed decisions. So there are some decisions that we need to take if we have statistical data. For example, imagine the school is deciding on a new sport day activity. So statistics about which sports students enjoy most can help them choose the best option. So if we have enough many students that like football in the school, then the statistic would tell us that okay, we have to have a lot more days for footballs than other games, for example, or other sports rather, like for example basketball or judo or whatever you have, whatever type of sports you know. So it makes us to make informed decisions because we are informed about the trend or the number of people that like a particular sport. So that will make us to know, okay, we just need to do, let's allocate more days to this particular sports than the other ones. So the next one, apart from this, sports, the statistics make us to spot trends of things. So statistics can show us if the number of students joining the school club is increasing or decreasing. So it is that will let us know that okay, the trend of this particular thing that is going on. So is the number of students joining the school club increasing or decreasing? Or how many students are joining football club? How many people are joining basketball sports? You understand? So it is the trend that will let us know that okay, this is what is happening. And that's what happens in the world. For example, any event that happens, then the trend, it is statistics that let us know. Statistics deals with data, that has to do with number, how many, what is happening. So that is what statistics will let us know. Then the third one is we can use statistics to compare and contrast. We can use it to compare and contrast. Uh, we can use statistics to compare the average test scores of different classes. For example, you have done some kind of test in mathematics, so your teacher can use your scores in the first test and the second test to compare, okay, what is the performance, the average performance of students in this class. Exactly. So that's why you can use that when you're analyzing your results at the end of third term of your stay in a particular class. You can see that we have different columns on the report sheet. It will show your scores in the first term, second term, and the third term. So it is the data, that the figures you have there are what we refer to as what statistics. You can see your scores are presented in form of a table. That is the presentation aspect of statistics that we're talking about. All right. Then the scores can then be, you can use it to compare and contrast whether you are progressing or retrogressing. You understand? So that is that on the usefulness or the importance of statistics. Now, the next stage is now for us to move to another aspect of statistics, which is very important. It's very important in the sense that without it, we cannot see anything, we cannot predict, we cannot do anything, we cannot make any decision without it, and that is what we refer to as data. So data is the most essential part of statistics. So in its simplest form, it's a collection of facts and figures. So when you collect facts and figure, what you have collected is what we refer to as data. For example, it could be the score of students in a particular test. It could be the height of students in a particular class, or the weight of students in a particular class, or the state of origin of students in a particular school, or we can use it to compare the countries as well too. So that is what we refer to as statistics, data. So when we talk about statistics, the meaning of statistics, of data rather, sorry, is a set of unorganized elements that when processed, analyzed, becomes what? Information. So when you're talking about data, data is quite different from information. Information is processed, while data is what? Unprocessed. It has not been processed. It is the data that we're going to process that will form what? Information. So information is meaningful and can be used to answer questions. So make decision and gain what? Insight. That after the data has been collected, so we can then process it, analyze it. If we can, when you collect it, for instance, after doing a test, your teacher will record it. After recording it, your teacher can say, okay, I want to know the average score of students in this test. So there is a particular um, insight we're going to get from that is average or mean, the mean score. We calculate that and we can say, okay, on average, out of 10 marks, on average, students scored 7, students scored 8. So that is information. But the raw test is unorganized. Then you can see, maybe we have 10 students in the class. So someone might score 2, someone might score 5, someone might score 10. So when you now average all their scores together, you can then come up with a single score that you can use it to decide, okay, student performed well in this test or not. I hope that is clear. So that is what we call information after the data has been what? Processed. So the next one is we have different types of data. So data may be categorized into two. We have qualitative, this is the first one, qualitative data, and we have quantitative data. From the word qualitative data is talking about data that has nothing to do with numbers. It has something to do with characteristics or features of something. For example, we can be talking about color or beauty, talk about taste. All these cannot be quantified. We cannot attach number to color. We cannot attach number to taste. You understand? So we cannot attach number to beauty. Exactly. So that is why we say that another name for qualitative data is categorical what? Data. So this is a data that can only be described. We can only describe the data. Number cannot be attached to it. So for example, that's we have beauty, color, taste, and so on and so forth. I hope this is clear. All right. So another second one is quantitative data. Quantitative data, from the name, it means data that we can attach number to it. This type deals with numbers and quantities, is measurable and can be analyzed statistically. So this is the one that we'll be dealing with most of the time when we heard what statistics. We look at quantitative data, not qualitative. So not that we cannot analyze qualitative, but most of our work will be mostly on what? Quantitative data. So example of quantitative data includes sales figures. When you sell something, or maybe you want to analyze it for a week, what are your sales the first day, second day, third day till the seventh day. Then temperature readings. When you check temperature of a patient, maybe you're a doctor, you're a nurse, checking the temperature of a patient, you can check in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, the same day. You are not going to analyze it. That is quantitative. Then we talk about website traffic as well. It's also part of what? Quantitative data. Or we can want to check the number of students in a class or the age of students. You understand? All these, the heights, the weights. So all these are what we refer to as what? Quantitative data. Then this quantitative data has now two types. It can be discrete or continuous. So quantitative data can be discrete or can also be what? Continuous. So it is, let's look at discrete. Discrete data, data that can only take exact value is called discrete data. I repeat again, data that can take only exact value, that is, you cannot have points in between. Let me give you an instance. In a room or in a class, can we say we have 2.5 boys in a class? Is it possible? So you can say this is not possible. In that case, number of boys in a class or number of girls in a class refers to as well discrete data. It is quantitative and also a discrete because it is, we cannot have a decimal attached to it. We can have fractions. It can't be fractionalized. So that's why I said discrete data are usually obtained by counting. We count them, how many are they, and not by measurement. You know, when you measure something, you can have 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. So that is not discrete. Anytime you now see number that is 1 point something, 2 point something, all those ones are not discrete data. I hope I'm making sense. So that is why it is wrong to say 2.5 girls or 2.5 girls or 2.7 boys. All those things are not what possible. So that is what refers as discrete data. So the next one is continuous data. When we talk about continuous data, data which can be obtained by measurement, not by counting. You just have to measure. You want to measure the height, you want to measure the weights. So when you measure your height, so sometimes you get exact value. You can get, you might be 6 feet tall, or you are 6.2 feet tall, or 3.2 tall, 3.5 tall, feet tall, and so on and so forth. So which means you are going to, you can have decimal in between the numbers. You can have fractions. So that's what refers to as continuous data. So data which can be obtained by measurement, not by counting, is what we call continuous data. Example of continuous data are the height, weight, temperature, all these one are what? Continuous data. I hope I'm making sense. So move to the next one. All right. So the next stage is now to look at what are the sources of data that we have. Sources of data, that is, how do we get this data we have been talking about? So how do we get it? So there are two major categories of sources of data. So we have primary sources of data and we have secondary or sources of data. So primary in the sense that the second one is secondary. So when we talk about primary data, we are talking about first-hand data. That is, the researcher uh, will be the one that will gather the data. So this data is collected first-hand for a specific purpose. And researcher conducts surveys. You can conduct a surveys. You can construct questionnaire to gather the data. So that's why when you get to university, so you have to do some kind of research that you are going to you can do use in form of what is it called, questionnaire. And when you use questionnaire, you are making use of primary sources of data. But if you use some other method like secondary data, you are not the one that will collect, that is gathering the data. You are just using the data someone or agency they have worked on. You are now using their own data to make judgment of what you are carrying out research on. But if you are the one that is carrying out the research from the beginning, we are talking about primary data. So the kind of research you can conduct is survey, experiments, or observation. You can go to the lab and carry out some kind of experiments. So all these experiments, so we gather, we form your what primary what source of what data. I hope I'm making sense. All right. So the next one is secondary data. So under secondary data, this is information that already exists and has been collected by someone else. I said that. So someone has worked on it, someone carried out the investigation, someone carried out the survey, someone carried out the questionnaire, someone worked on the questionnaire, someone carried out the experiment in the laboratory and documented the details, everything, the findings. So you and I using it to conclude or to make decision. So such form of data is what we refer to as secondary, because it is secondary. It is not your own. Use someone else's what information to make decision. So example of such includes government reports. Like recently in Lagos State, we have cholera breakout. So at the end of the whole cholera breakout, then government can come up with reports that how many people uh, contacted the disease, how many people were treated, how many people died. You understand? What are the causes of this? Where did it generated from? The same thing with COVID, the same thing with Ebola, all those things. So when government gives report on this kind of thing, then other people like doctors, researchers, they can now use the report to what? To make some division, to carry out some other research. They can now work on it further. Such type of data is what refers to as secondary what? Data. The other one is academic journals. Professors, doctors, they write journals, some on monthly basis. They are going to publish it. So all those things, what their findings in those journals can serve as what? Reference, or can serve as what? Secondary data. Then market research data as well too is also form of what? Secondary data. So this type of data is readily available. You don't have to stress yourself that you want to carry out any form of research. Just go to where you can get it. You can go to Bureau of Statistics. You have a lot of them there. So that is what refers as secondary data. I hope this is very clear. So we've been able to look at all the aspects that we said we're going to touch and our objective. Meaning of statistics, we've looked at the purpose, we've looked at data and the sources of data. So in our next class, we then go into the calculation aspect of these statistics, which is very interesting. So we'll be looking at measure of central tendency, whereby we'll be looking at uh, mean, averages, then look at the median, the mode, and so on and so forth. Then this is just introductory aspect of statistics. So I'm not going to go into details. It won't go beyond this because of the level of students that this is meant for. So we're going to meet in our next video. So if you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and make sure you turn on the notification bell so that anytime we produce video like this, you'll be the first to have access to it and benefit from it. So we're going to meet in the next video. Bye for now.